General Singh, my first question to you is, and I would like my esteemed panel to stay with me. General Singh, why has situation not improved in Manipur the way it should have been? It's more than 2 months.
Yeah, thank you for having me in your show. To begin with, this is an answer which I cannot really explain in a few minutes or something. I wish it was a few days. Firstly, I wish it never happened. And also, if it did happen, it could have been, to my mind, controlled much earlier from uh, escalating into any kind of this kind of a violence. Having said that, your question is how is it that it is prolonged so much? I feel that when there is a ethnic conflict, it is mostly due to fear of the future of their respective ethnic groups. Mark my words, fear. And that fear has gone a bit too far in the case of Manipur, and it has gone to a level of some kind of an existential, threat. I mean, perceived existential threat. A zero-sum game kind of a, play in their thoughts. So the reason why it is prolonging, history tells us that most of the ethnic groups, ethnic conflict in the Northeast region, Manipur in particular, have been prolonged, have been much prolonged. We had 2000, we had 1992-93 clashes, then we had 1997 clashes, many clashes, and it is a prolonged affair. While we should learn from history, I see no reason why this should not have been controlled within a few days.
There is a feeling that this could not be done because the political leadership was not decisive enough, General Singh.
I will not comment on the political side, but definitely the establishment, I'll say the establishment, all the pillars of governance was vertically split. In that situation, I think it was incumbent on the incumbent on other forces to come in and help out the state. But I think in this case, I think all the pillars of governance collapse or partially collapse to a point that the situation was could not be controlled. So your point is correct. When the law enforcement agencies are split vertically, I think it was really unfortunate that this was allowed to happen, and decision makers should have been little more firm.
General Singh, there are oases of stability, but what is also being witnessed in Manipur is that Armory is being repeatedly attacked. Mobs are trying to attack armories across Manipur. Why is this happening? No, in no other state I have seen that armory is being so regularly attacked. Is it unguarded? How do they know where the weapon depots are? Why is this happening?
If you are referring to that incident in Thawal district 2 days back, I think it was repulsed with one armed rioter was killed also. I think they responded quite well. Any kind of such forceful use of force in order to attack armory is extremely rare. And I do not know why this is happening. But I can say this much, that it is because of the, a very, very extremely charged atmosphere and the rumors spreading all over that, other group has got more weapons, other group has got more ammunition. This kind of a rumor mongering are driving these people into this, trying to raid armories and must be repulsed with full force.
But General Singh, for example, uh, on July 5th, firing took place between Arambai, Tengol and Kuki defense volunteers. Entire civil society is awash with guns. Guns have not come back. Guns are there. Armory is being looted. So it means that the materially things are not moving in the correct direction, barring the oasis, which is the Imphal city.
Uh, I don't know whether Imphal city is oasis, but the fact remains that there is uncertainty, there is instability, there is violence in many parts of the state. And as long as the weapons continue to be circulating around in the hands of anti-social elements, this will continue. And these guns, weapons, are not only from the armories, but they are already, because of a porous border with and another unstable neighborhood in Myanmar, the guns. I'll give you one example. Between 2016 and 19, 3 years, the number of guns intercepted by the security forces across the border itself was more than 6,000. Just note that 6,000. So you can imagine the number of weapons being smuggled or pushed in or pulled from this side. It amounted to over 6,000 in a matter of 3 to 4 years. I'm talking about a fact which is in the records. So therefore, these guns are not only from the armories, but also illegal weapons. Has got a history of many insurgencies, and most of these guns are sourced from non-state actors from Yunnan, province of Assam. And Myanmar itself is full of gun running business there. So therefore, our state is not in a happy situation as far as the circulation of illegal weapons are concerned. And this must be acted upon by the forces as early as possible. And we must not leave any stone unturned in order to, ensure that these guns come back to where, and also illegal weapons are removed.
So my colleague Brijesh Pandey, who is with me in studio, my input header, has one question for you, sir.
General, I wanted to ask, you have been talking about the porous border and we understand how difficult it is to regulate, all these weapons which are being pumped into India and all. One of the biggest challenge which is emerging is how to disarm the two sides, which have these weapons on their hand. And the recovery rate has been abysmally low, and also adding to the woe of the security, especially Indian Army, is that that the women folk come forward to make sure that their movement is the unrestricted movement is hindered. How do you see this process of disarming these armed civil society, and how difficult is this going to be for the army, sir?
Okay, before I answer your question, calling the women mob, mob is a little too harsh a word. Mob means, wanting some kind of a destruction and wanting violence. Anyway, I leave it at that. We'll not discuss about the what you call as women mob. But I think it is going to be the strike force, the military has to be, I think they have to be, I have said it in some forum also, that military has to come in as early as possible so that any kind of weapons in the hands of antisocial elements on both sides of the conflict will have to be removed by force, use of force. And if necessary, we must use our specialized forces. We have it, the capability. Indian Army has the capability. Only thing is that in this situation, Army is, there are own people. There could be, collateral damage, which is, I believe, that they will be very careful about. But I have no doubts in my mind that in the coming days we'll see the military taking actions to ensure that such weapons are removed and they are not in the hands of anti-social elements.
General Singh, Kartikeya, let me rephrase the question. How do you see the participation of women, because that was a spear corps visual which you saw on the screen, blocking the army action? You would know that, sir, you have been part of the track too, that they blocked a convoy in which one of the militants was involved in the killing of the men from the Gorkha regiment.
I have said it earlier that such kind of action blocking the military operations of any kind is not acceptable at all. I have also said that Indian military or Indian security forces are and they are operating under very, very difficult circumstances, and any kind of unfortunate casualty for any innocent people will not be at all in the interest of the nation as well as in the interest of the army. That's why they have to be extremely careful. As regards that person who was part of the ambush of Dogra regiment, I do not know there, but then due to which basically pressure to avoid collateral damage, to avoid casualties of innocence that might have been responsible for for the people to have been handed over or back to the civilians. I mean, this is very extremely unfortunate, but I do not know the actual circumstances on the ground.
General Singh, army can do the job of getting security, getting peace, but then the process of peace and the democratic process lies with the lawmaker. What sort of a peace initiative is required, sir? What sort of track two is required? What sort of a movement is required in a state whereby cookies and maitis can come together? Because Manipur belongs to everyone.
Very good question. When two brothers fight, it is the parents who have to come into play. The elder, in this case the center, will have to make sure they have adequate strings and adequate means to make sure that they sit down together. And these, I'm sure that they can be influenced or even sometimes they have the power to make them sit together. And also through track two initiatives, and more importantly, the CSOs. I think the center still enjoys that much of power to make sure that they sit down together, because dialogue is the only way forward. And Mahatma Gandhi's quote, an eye for an eye makes everybody blind.
General Singh, you spoke about civil society organization. But at least I can share my disappointment with you. I feel slightly disappointed with them because civil society organizations in Manipur looks like they're deeply aligned with on the political, ethnic and community lines. They have not created a bipartisan bridge to get people together, sir. Most of the protests I have seen in Delhi, they're all on community lines. Nothing has been done where two communities have been brought together by one civil society organization.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And effort in a situation like this, where it is vertically split, the entire society, I think that's what I said earlier. The center, I think, should be having adequate leverage to make sure that they sit down together as early as possible.
And before I let go of you, sir, because other panelists will come, and I had promised you this is going to be a one-to-one interview. So why does Assam Rifle get into such a contentious narrative? What is the big picture? Now, you have been part of this glorious institution of Indian Army for more than 40 years, but then, this force should not be there and that force should be there. Why is that?
Firstly, the Assam Rifles have done a great job. in the beginning, there was no police, no nothing. They were the ones who evacuated more than 35,000 people and fed them for 7 days. But there are certain suspicions in the mind of people. I said, I must quote this here in your channel, that one Colonel James Johnstone in 1982 wrote about the people of Manipur. He said, Indians are suspicious by nature, but when it comes to Manipuris, you multiply that 10 times, unquote. This is what he said. So the suspicion leads to all this kind of, things that, a particular security forces is siding with another group. So the suspicion galore. That leads to this kind of a situation where they say, no, a particular security force is siding with so-and-so. And another group says that they are siding with another group. So these are, to my mind, there might have been some instances of individual acts where they didn't, maybe they,
Okay. Okay.
maybe, I'm not very sure, that Indian Army in particular has done a great job.
Yes, Army has done a great job, and thank you so much, General Singh, for joining me on this program.